QuickBooks Online 2021. Sales receipt applied to a sub-customer or job versus a project. Let's get into it with Intuit's QuickBooks Online 2021. Here we are in our Get Great Guitars practice file. In prior presentations, we set up sub-customers, which are similar to jobs in the desktop version, and we set up some projects. Now we want to think about what would happen if we were to apply something to it, such as a sales receipt. So let's just review what we have. If we go to the Sales tab on the left-hand side, which is like the Customer Center, go up to the Customers tab up top. Then we set up our two sub-customers, which are similar to jobs for the desktop version of the 3005 for Jones Guitars and 4002 for Sam the Guitar Man. Note that to set up a sub-customer, all you do is go to the new item up top. You hit that sub-customer, add then the parent here, and then say whether it be billable with the parent or not billable with the parent being the default. Going to close this back out without saving this new item. We also did so with the projects. So projects are going to be different. Remember that you could use multiple different tools to do similar type of things within QuickBooks Online. A lot of neat tools that you can use. You just want to make sure that you have your system down in terms of which tools you are using to achieve the goal that you are looking in at. So down here in the project, we got this one for 500 we assigned to String Music Project. Now that's the only project we have at this point in time. We have our list of projects drop down. You could sort them by the in progress, the completed, and the canceled projects. And then we've got the all customers and the customer information that we could sort by as well. If we want to go into that project, we can click on that project and we get more of a detailed view of that particular project with the overview up top, the income, the cost, the profit. Now, if we wanted to add a sales receipt to the project, for example, we can go up top, sales receipt. We're going to say plus button. We're going to go to the sales receipt item, charging that. And we're going to say the 500 was the project name. So we're going to 500 assigned to String Music. Now, note it is a project and not a job because you can see next to it, it says project here as opposed to a sub customer. We're going to scroll on down. I'm going to put this in as of 131. And I'll just call it the payment for cash. We'll say it's going to go into undeposited funds, we're going to say. And then we'll say it's for a service, which will be the hourly service. So we say hourly service 2. And so there we have that. And notice that if you apply something out to a service and you're using some kind of job cost system, services will typically do that as well. So if we had a string music or music guitar lessons might be applied out in a similar way as an accounting firm might apply out who they've worked for or what projects they've basically worked on. You might charge it by time, music instructor or something like that. So we're going to charge that out. It's going to be the $100 in total. What's going to happen? Well, it's a sales receipt. That means that we're going to have something go up on the cash side of things, in this case undeposited funds. The other side then go into the revenue account, which is driven by this item here, plus it'll be assigned to the particular project. So if I was to say save and close, save it and close it, there we have it there. So now we've got our income side here, the costs, and of course the profit on this particular project. If I go back to all projects in the all project button up top, then we got our one project down here. It gives you this nice little timeline in the summary of all projects. And then again, if I go into it, then of course we get the more detail of it and it gives you this nice little timeline summary up top. If we go to the transactions to the right, there's going to be our transactions. There's the 1007. If we go into that item, then we're going to actually get to our sales receipt. Closing that back out. So this overview gives us a nice little tool to kind of drill down on the projects in and of themselves. We can also run reports. So if I go back up top and I right click and I duplicate this tab and I want to get like a summary report of all my projects, for example, then I can go down to the reports on the left-hand side and we might want to report by customer, but I like to just make it. So we might as well just make it so we can see how it's put together. So I'm going to go to the profit and loss report. And then I'll close up the hamburger, range change it up top, ending at 12/31/21, and then run that report. And then let's, in this drop down, instead of showing it by month or day or so forth, we want to show it by customers. So we want to break out the column header up top by customer and run that report. And now we've got our customers up top that have generated revenue within this time frame. And of course, here we have our 500, which is attached to the string music. So string music has these items attached to it. There's our project, which is basically that 500, and you can see it kind of breaks out like an income statement that you could see in that format. If you were to customize it, you can go to the customize on the right-hand side, say filter, and let's say that we wanted to see the customers and we wanted to see some custom customers down here. So for example, we might want to see just that 500. If I was to choose that 500 item as a custom field, then it picks that up. It's bringing over string music because it's attached to it, right? But it's not bringing over the detail within string music other than what's in that particular project, project 500. If I go back up on top here and I go to customer or customize and then scroll back down and say we want to bring that and string music over, the parent over, and run that report. Now you got string music, which had some items attached to it, assigned to string music, that customer particularly, and then the job over here had items assigned to it. So you can kind of filter the report. And again, this kind of filtering that where you have the headers up top is a similar report type that you might see in like a report profit and loss by class type of report. So you can use classes to do a similar thing, or possibly locations to do similar type of things. Let's change this up and say, well, what if we didn't use projects? And what if I reassign this out and assign it to, instead of a project, we assign it to a job? What would that look like? So let's go back up top and say, all right, let's take this and say it's going to go to a job instead, for the job for Sam the Guitar Man, 4002. So now it's going to go to Sam the Guitar Man. I'm just changing the sales receipt to 4002 now. Everything else is going to be the same, so it's not going to go to a project, but rather a job. You can see the difference between those two if you open it, because it says a sub-customer, which I'm calling a job, but it's a sub-customer, which is kind of like the same as a job in the on-ground version of the desktop version versus a project. And then let's go ahead and save and close that and see what happens. So we're going to save and close that. Now nothing is happening in the project. If I go back then to the project, there's nothing in the project field. We assigned it to the sub-customer instead. So if I then go to the sales tab and we say we're going to be in the customer of Sam the Guitar Man. So we're here in Sam the Guitar Man. We see that information here because we're billing basically the parent. There's the $100 sales receipt. If I go back then to the customers, I can go into the job, which is 4002, and there's the information for it. I could still run the report that we did last time. If I go back to the reports up top and I run this profit and loss and just simply refresh it at this point, and let's go to customize up top and remove the filter. So I'm going to say customer filter, and I'm going to remove these filters down below, and I just want all customer. So let's try that again, run it with all customers. So there it is. So there's Sam the Guitar Man, and there once again is our sub customer. So we have a similar kind of report that'll break out kind of the income and expense report here in this format, whether we use the sub customer or the project. The project has that nice thing where you're kind of inside the project and you can work within the project field, which is nice if you're working, just for the project in and of itself. But you got this general report. You can still filter this report, of course, by the projects now. So I could go down and say I want to filter it by the type of customer. And so maybe we want to pick up the sub-customers here and pick those up and run that report. And so there we have it. So Sam the Guitar Man, there's the 4002, which is tied, of course, to Sam the Guitar Man. Let's do one more. If I go back to the tab to the right and I make another sales receipt, so let's make another sales receipt, hit the plus button, sales receipt, and this one's going to go to the, we'll say sub-customer 3005 sub-customer, and I'm going to make this on the 31st as well, and we'll say this is hourly service 1, so hourly service 1, and that's going to be for the 140. So once again, what's this going to do? It's a sales receipt. It's going to increase the undeposited funds. Other side's going to go to revenue driven by the item here. And then if we process it by basically customer, it's going to be applied then to the sub-customer, which is kind of like a job of the 3005. So we'll say save it and close it and just check that out. So save it and close it. And then if I go back up top to my income statement, back to my income statement. I'm going to customize it again. And let's remove the filter here altogether and then run the report. So here we have it, the job 4002 and then 3005 now being applied out. There's the 140. If I go back up top, once again, you can filter these items. You could filter the customer and say we want to filter this thing and possibly pick up just the sub customers, this one and this one, and then run that report. And now you can see this information by the sub customer.